Hi traders, and welcome to the technical analysis market wrap on Friday the 5th of March. So we've got another non-farm payrolls to contend with today, but we've seen some really big moves this week, especially in the last 24 hours. Some of these are really starting to move. So we'll jump straight into the charts and we'll see if we can identify any opportunities into non-farm payroll. So we'll look at the Aussie USD first. We can see here that it's at the critical level of support on the 50 moving average. It's broken down the 20. We can see that very clearly now, and there's a good chance this candle is going to close pretty much on the 50 moving average, which is, its last line of defense. You can see it did it here, and it did bounce off, but the US dollar strength is increasing rapidly at the moment, but it finds itself at resistance. So it's going to be an interesting one to see where this one, whether it actually holds up at the 50, but a lot of that's going to have to do with what the dollar index does, of course. It's a pretty key level. Look, 77 sort of 20 area is where we're talking. Even the 77 flat is going to be where the 50 moving average is. And aside from the fact that it's obviously a round number and a very important zone, 77 cents has been very important for it for a while. It's going to be very interesting to see if this is enough to actually hold it, because if it breaks down from here, the next point is probably at least 100 pips away at around the 76, and it's going to start moving down in those increments, those 100 cent increments 100 pip increments, I should say. That we saw it rising. So it could provide some really good trading opportunities if it does break down. It's probably the better trade. So hopefully we will see it break down below the 50 in the coming day or early into next week. So we'll move on to the US Dollar Cad now. This one's started to show some strength. You can see here that it tested these lows again, late last week, but it's had a pretty good, boost up from there. Funny sort of last few days, but you can see at around the 126.50, it's proving to be a very strong ground for it. You can see right through here, there's been a lot of price gravitation to this level. And with US dollar strength, it's hovering underneath the 20 moving average. This is definitely the weaker US dollar based pair at the moment. There's no question about that. But it needs to get above this 20 moving average. If it does and closes above here and the dollar strength increases, it's going to test these highs at around the sort of 127.80 to even 128. There's no question about that. But until the daily closes above the 20, it needs to do that, and you need to see a series of higher highs and higher lows on a smaller time frame to confirm that. So you want to see the close above the 20 and a series of higher highs and higher lows on probably a 1 hour time frame at the minimum, and then we can gravitate to that sort of 127 area, 127.50. So pretty good trading on the CAD. Actually, it's been a scalping opportunity really more than anything long, but if we get that close above the 20, I think it'll really open up some good opportunities to the long. And also, of course, if it does happen to get past the 127.50 and closes there on a daily, we're going to have the lightning bolt effect that we want, and then that really opens it up to the 128.50 to 129. So really one to watch out for, a really good trade. All right, we'll move on to the US dollar yen. I'll put it to a daily chart so we can see what's going on here. You can see the strength is just, it's been out of control. It's been fantastic really from a trading standpoint, because we talked about this over the last few weeks that, if it bounced off the 20, which it did, the 107 was pretty much a formality, which it was, and it's even blasted through that and gone straight past it. Like, it's sitting at 107.85 at the moment, and so really it made short work of the 107 level, but it gave us some really good longs. I mean, we were definitely 150 pip longs from these really key reload zones. So fantastic trade, really benefited from the dollar index strength, this one, and it's really played the game. It's starting to really overextend a little bit now. Like, it's probably gone a little bit further than you'd like in the first big impulsive move. You can see here that it's right into the point of potential resistance. You can see the resistance here. We've got resistance right through here. So it's going to be one. It's hard to imagine that it could continue without pulling back a little bit. But if the dollar strength stays, it continues to increase. We'll look at the dollar index in a second. I'll show you why I think the dollar index strength might start to waver a little bit here. This is definitely at a point where it's going to probably pull up. So I certainly wouldn't be taking any longs here. And if you were long, you'd probably be out of it by now unless you had a very, very big long-term plan. All right, we'll move on to the dollar index next, and this is the part that I was talking about. You can see the dollar index is at a very, very key point. I'll put a horizontal line there to really highlight that. You can see here that it's fast approaching, or if it did actually touch it throughout the session, the 91.60 level. You can see that was very, very difficult to break through at this point here. Almost touched it here. It's a role reversal zone, there's no question about that. Probably 91.80 is the real zone to 92. 92 is probably as far as this one can go without a pullback, you would think, because 92 has been a very, very strong level for it, and a lot of the dollar-based pairs are starting to look a little bit extended, so you'd think there'd be a little bit of a pause. But no question, it's all gravitated here before non-farm payrolls. How often do we say this on a Friday, non-farm day, that all of the key levels are at the point where you think they're going to break? They're either key support or key resistance. So there's no doubt this is actually one of those in that basket. You can see that it's actually very, very strong resistance here. So it's just really a case of wait and see. I think it's going to be probably a pretty slow sort of day until non-farm payrolls. It's very, very important non-farm payrolls, this one. So, the US 500 has been a little bit weak. So I think that it's probably a bit of you're not going to trade this one, but the Euro's basically showing the complete opposite of this, of course. You can see it's right at that roll reversal zone at around that 119.70. Now, I know we said that we think it was going to get down below 120 again. Here it is. But what it's going to do from here in the next probably 12 hours, which is all that concerns us really for our scalping trades, it's going to find it hard to break any lower throughout the Asian session, right? So when it's waiting for key news, it's probably going to hover around this level. I think you're going to see very, very small movement in this particular pair, especially throughout the trading day in Asia, and then maybe the fireworks will start once the non-farm payroll results come out. But if the dollar strength increases, this is going to bust through this level. But it's not one that I'd want to be shorting anytime soon, mainly because of the roll reversal zone. Can it break down? Well, of course it can. But what we want to see is basically a breakdown of this level and prove it first. I wouldn't be trying to anticipate that it's going to break this level. I'd want to see a candle close below it and then a retest from the bottom. And then if it does that, then we'll be looking to the shorts and trying to get down to that 117, 118 level, which are around the bottom of this channel here. But that needs to prove it for mine. But in saying that, I wouldn't be taking it long either until I had a lightning bolt up on at least a 1 hour time frame. So I'd want to see a series of higher highs and higher lows on at least a 1 hour chart, and then maybe you could look at longing it off this roll reversal zone. But the dollar index strength looks ominous for this one, and if you go to the 1 hour, it looks a long way away from making higher highs and higher lows. So I think it's just one of the ones where you're gonna have to watch it today, and probably not going to see a lot of movement. All right, we'll have a look at the pound USD now. This one's stronger than all of the other majors that you can see that are basically against the US dollar. You can see that it's resting right on the 20. It has still failed to break down a close below the 20 moving average on a daily, which has shown incredible strength really, given what the Euro USD and the Aussie USD have done. They've sold the best part of 300 or 400 pips and looking very, very weak. And although this has come off a couple of hundred pips, it's still at a very, very strong support level, and that really signifies how strong it's been on the way up, because the 20 has basically held it. No need to repeat that. Obviously, it's a very, very key zone. We know this. The 20 is a very strong zone. Hasn't closed below it in quite some time, and if it does close below the 20, it's going to be significant. So I think if we get a close below the 20 on a daily, I think it opens itself up to potentially shorting down to that 137.50. But I want to see it happen first. It's promised that it's going to do this a couple of times and hasn't. And I think this is basically sitting right on a very, very key level. Again, like all the others, waiting for that all-important non-farm payroll results. So certainly a watch and see on this one. I think you're going to see very, very slow movement on this one throughout the day as well. So the fireworks will probably start into New York and early next week once we get the numbers out, and they're either going to break down these key support levels and start trending down, or they're going to bounce off them and go up. Either will provide really, really good trading opportunities next week. So I think we're going to be in some really good trading next week, depending on how the US dollar strength goes. All right, and finally we'll look at the US 500. You can see that it's starting to really look ominous to the breakdown now. It's managed to push down into the 3700s. The 3800 is a stronghold for it. It was struggling to break down below there. Now it has on a daily chart. There's no question about that. Unless it does some sort of a miracle recovery in the next hour, it's going to close below the 50 as well. And this level here is, even though it's rejected a little bit, you're going to find that it's probably going to do not a hell of a lot. It's been weak for basically the whole week. The Nasdaq has really dragged this one down. I know the Nasdaq's been a lot weaker than this. The tech stocks have really copped a hammering. But again, I think it's going to be very, very dependent. This is going to be a very important non-farm payroll for a lot of reasons, because I think the market needs direction now, and the stimulus and everything has all been released. There's not a hell of a lot of exciting news to look forward to. So now really they're going to focus on the key metrics, which obviously the biggest of them all is non-farm payroll. So it's really a watch and see on this one. Bit of a boring day. Non-farm payrolls generally is, but I think we could really see some good movement next week, especially if the numbers go the way we want them to, which is probably a stronger US dollar and a weaker S&P 500, which is ideal because it opens up some really good opportunities on all the pairs that we've talked about. But if this one holds down here and the numbers are weak and we can see further weakness, it really opens itself up to the 3600 and 3550, which is ideally the great level to reload on. So if it gets down there, we can start looking at shorts if it retests the 20 moving average on the way down, and then we'll look at buying opportunities when it reaches that 3600 or 3550. Either situation is going to be a really, really good one to join in on those longs. So I hope everyone's had a great week's trading. We've seen some real action. The last few weeks have been fantastic from a technical standpoint. Hopefully you're able to get some of those good moves and have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you next week once the results are out.